Nintendo 64 presents a Playguide and video review. Sit back and enjoy the show.
Hey there, welcome to another Lemon 64 play guide and review. In this episode we'll be taking a look at Pitstop II, developed by Steve Landrum and Dennis Caswell and released by Epix in 1984. From the options we can choose a 1-player or a 2-player mode. We can even choose 6 tracks from the UK, Germany, France, Sebring in the USA, Italy and Watkins Glen also in the USA, and we can also choose to play all 6 tracks in a Grand Prix circuit. For this one I'm just going to choose a test track. Let's choose Sebring in the USA, and I'm just going to choose 3 laps. You can have 3, 6 or 9, and of course the difficulty level will be set to Pro. We can also type in the player's name and then press fire to enter the game itself. In Pitstop 2 we get to play a unique feature on a Commodore 64, and that's split screen action. We are playing on the top half and the bottom half is controlled by the computer. So the red car there will be flung into those corners, and if we are at the right speed then we'll get around those, and if we can't, well look at that, the computer is already overtaken, but luckily it doesn't take much effort to overtake back. In this game we can hold down the fire button to instigate the turbo, and that will overtake much more quickly, and it's great to have turbos in this game, but unfortunately the computer control player is a little on the weedy side and his AI is pretty pathetic. On Pro level it means our tyre damage will be at maximum, and if that computer player struggles to overtake a car he'll be out, and that means we've already won the race. I tried this again on England and I found that the computer player once again got blown out, and on Pro level it really is easy for the computer player to do that. Of course we can always get around that by selecting 2-player mode, and in 2-player mode of course we have 2 human players to play against. We can now enter both players' names, and by pressing the fire button we can also choose the controller that associates to which player. So let's press those fire buttons, and the great thing about the 2-player match is that both of us will have the turbo. The 2-player options are certainly the best part of this game, and head-to-head combat is realistic in the sense that we didn't really have much more to offer on the Commodore 64, and it wasn't until Lotus Turbo Challenge came out that there was any better split-screen action than this. But to my mind, unfortunately, the split screen of the 2-player mode is counterbalanced by the anguish of the single-player mode. So let's switch off those 2-player antics and let's try the single-player mode again. This time we'll choose France. You can see by pushing forward on the controller we can match the computer spec for spec, speed for speed, and there isn't much room for manoeuvre there. But as soon as we hold down that fire button we will zoom off into the distance, and overtaking just like that means that we can leave the computer player far behind. You can hear that both drivers have their own unique sound effects, and even gear change simulation noises are there, and of course we'll get the usual bangs and crashes as we collide into the cars, and we'll even get a very nice explosion when our tyres blow up. In this game we have tyre simulations, we have corner velocities, and we even seem to have wind speed factors, because you'll notice that the cars hover around those corners, and sometimes the odd mechanics of this game makes it feel like we're actually driving into the wind and fighting against those corners. Sometimes we'll get a burst of understeer and we'll collide into the near wall. Sometimes we'll get a massive burst of oversteer and collide with the corner itself. and so it's a juggling match even if you try and get that speed absolutely perfect. And that's why the cars are a little twitchy there on those corners, but that's just the art and the mechanics of Pitstop 2. To my mind, this was the very first game to employ real-world driving physics, and it certainly is more enjoyable driving around these corners than games like Pole Position, where the vehicles didn't seem to have any grip whatsoever. You can see the game runs at 60 frames per second, and even though this ripper only rips at 30, you can see it's very smooth, and there are no roadside obstacles in this game, no barriers, no signs or anything like that, not even any crowd. But what we do get is fast racing action, and when the speed travels beyond 200 there, you can see, well, you did see before I crashed, when the player does get beyond 200 miles an hour, the game does run very, very smoothly indeed. After every lap, we'll also be presented with the pits on the left hand side, and all we need to do is to crash our way in there, and that will automatically enter the pit stop sequence. In Pitstop 2, we actually get a very nice pit stop sequence where we can not only refuel the car, but we can also swap all 4 corners as well. So you can see the computer player taking off the colours of those tyres, and when all the tyres are back in black, that means we can continue with the race. So while you see the computer player doing that, I'm actually nursing my tyres, trying not to crash and collide with anything, because on Pro mode the tyre wear is at its maximum. On Rookie, the tyre wear doesn't really affect the car, and you have to really crash out there to really make that thing blow up. But it's great to see various types of tyre wear in this game. The tyres will start black and then they will move through blue, purple, green, cyan, red and yellow. And if you have a yellow tyre, then watch out, because if you touch one more thing, the tyre will go white, and as you've seen, you will blow up and crash to the side of the circuit. It really is great that we can play against the computer, and as a kid I found that pretty difficult, but I'm speeding up the footage there to show you that the computer really does have a difficult time overtaking most opponents in this game, and we are never in any danger that that computer control player will ever catch us up, because the computer makes lots of mistakes, and often. Meanwhile, on the 64, I'm nursing my tyres and the fuel right down to the bottom. So by colliding with the pits, we'll automatically enter those, and the pits will give us the opportunity, hopefully, to change a few of these tyres before that fuel reaches the top. And if that fuel escapes the top, that will splash onto the road and we'll have to fill up that tank all over again. You can see the back tyre is still purple, but I'm going to leave the pits at this stage because I'm not afraid that that back tyre will blow up, and as long as I take it easy for this third and final lap around this French course, then I should be able to beat the computer player absolutely no problem. But the computer's AI isn't much of the problem, it's the fact that the computer doesn't actually use the turbo, and while we are cruising, actually driving relatively slowly there at 220, well, the computer player takes forever to use the turbo, if in fact it uses it at all. And to my mind, that's the only negative thing about the AI in this game. But the AI does serve that great purpose, and as I say, sometimes it can be difficult for the novice to overtake that computer control player, and AI in any capacity has to be a good measure. But despite the computer player's lack of intelligence crashing into virtually every vehicle, it doesn't matter, because the two-player mode, as you have seen, is amazing, and the two-player mode definitely makes this game worth playing. We have now completed the race in first position, and we're still waiting for that computer to catch up. You can see the computer's fuel is bottoming out there, and it does not slow down the car if the fuel is in the red. So here we go, let's check out the championship table. Just like Lotus 1, we have made up names there: Deirdre Dipstick, Earl Sump, Tina Turbo, and even Penelope Pitstop find their way to the high scorers table. Let's just give this game one last chance to shine in the one-player mode, and for this we'll choose Watkins Glen, the second of the USA courses, and again let's try that on Pro. With the turbo we can have some fun with the computer control player. As we wander into his path, then that path will be diverted, which means we can send the computer player careering into other vehicles on the side of the track, and sometimes we can block the computer player in there. But you can see with the turbo it's very easy to stay in front, and even if we do collide with another vehicle, holding down the fire button means we can zoom away into the distance. While you are watching me doing that, I'll give you a little history about this game. It was mainly coded by Steve Landrum, and Stephen Landrum took the format of the code and created Supercycle, the excellent Supercycle, in 1986, before moving on to Skate or Die for Epix in 1987. He was aided by Dennis Caswell, who you may remember coded Impossible Mission for Epix in 1984, and this was his next and last project virtually for Epix, before moving on to games such as Ultimate Air Combat for the NES, which appeared in 1992, and his last game was Battle Bugs, which appeared on the PC in 1994. That was published by Sierra, having been developed by Epix, but Epix were virtually bankrupt by then, having spent virtually all their money developing the Lynx system, which was a big failure. Steve Landrum did most of the coding and the graphics engine, and the pit design and the pit mechanics was Dennis Caswell, and the rest of the graphics in this game were created by Erin Murphy, who also worked on Summer Games in 1984. This game was also released on the Wii Virtual Console in 2008, and that ran for a number of years. Unfortunately, the Wii Virtual Console is no more, so you have to play this on original hardware or use an emulator. On the Commodore 64, you can see in Pro mode the fuel is really going down there, and the tyres are looking a bit worse for wear, so let's dive into the pits. The pit box mechanics are very easy. All the player has to do is press the fire button and an icon will appear, and then pressing the fire button again over the item or the person that we wish to control, that will then control that person, and we can manoeuvre them with the joystick. But you can see diving out of the pits, because the computer control player did not pit on that lap, and we did have to pit because we've made one too many collisions, which means the computer control player is actually in front. You may have seen on this play guide I actually took it pretty easy on this playthrough, not using any turbo whatsoever, to give the computer control player a fighting chance. I think the graphics in this game are well done and certainly on par with other games in this genre, and you have to think for 1984 there wasn't much to compare this to. The diabolical overhead view Motor Mania is nothing like Pitstop II, and this is actually streets ahead of Pitstop 1 in every graphical and elementary department. The sound is also very well done, and it makes great use of the sound effects in this game. You won't find any music except for virtually at the start and at the end. You will get 3 beeps which says it's race over, but you can see I'm actually gaining on that computer control player now, and so hopefully it won't be too long before we catch that thing up, and hopefully we can beat it. There you go. Let's just take that on, and without the turbo we can play around with that computer and have some fun. The controls are a little twitchy, but they really do stand up, particularly with the G-forces moving around the corners, and it really is an odd mechanic in this game which I haven't actually felt to the same extent on any other driving game. We do stick to the track and we can get around those corners, and so tactics can be used. It's not a pushover by any stretch, and that adds to the playability. Of course, the playability goes 1000% better in 2-player mode, and in 1-player mode, well, they tried to do as best as they could with the AI. Unfortunately, it's not terrific, and well, the computer control player there running on petrol fumes, that's how good the computer controlled AI is, and if he runs out of petrol it will just be as bad as blowing his tyres up and handing us the race. So let's see if he can make it to the pits, and well, just about. So almost throwing the game away yet again. So let's race, and another great aspect is racing against the opponent, and the computer in this case, in the pits. That's certainly a great element, and I really appreciate battling against the opponent there and rushing with our pit crews to try and get out in front of the opponent. And we just about made it. So there is plenty to like about this game, even though it doesn't come with a great title screen and great music and all the rest of the bells and whistles which makes some Commodore 64 games excel, and the programmers did go on to bigger and better things. Certainly Stephen Landrum there with the excellent Supercycle, which polishes this game and takes it on to a whole new realm. But in its day I really did love this game. It has character and charm all of its own, and with 2 players or more than 2 players taking on a match or a team mode, it's great. And if only the computer didn't blow up there in pro mode through a variety of different reasons, I think this game would be in the realms of absolutely superb. But taking a look at the scores, Commodore Force only gave this game 75%, Commodore User gave this game 80%, Zap originally gave this game 89%, even though it gave the budget slightly less, and CVG gave this game a massive 90%, praising most of the things about it, but your Commodore actually gave the budget release in 1986 5 out of 5, which is 100%. I really like most elements of this game. I love the pits, I love the tyres, and I love the speed and the smoothness. It's just the pity that in 1-player mode it's a little on the dodgy side, and it really takes the 2-player mode to make this game come alive. You can see I'm still not using the turbo on this level, and even still I can beat the computer control player. So you can see I'm moving really slow now to try and give us a photo finish. Let's complete this race while I say thank you once again for viewing another Lemon 64 play guide and review. Next week we'll be taking a look at Supercycle, so I hope you will join me for that. Thank you.